Facebook and Skype brought Deb and Lauren back together. They were glued at the hip growing up, went to school together their whole lives. Yeshiva school, all girls. Out in Queens through high school and then riding the subway together to one called Central in Manhattan. They stayed best friends forever until I married Deb and turned her secular. And soon after that, Lauren met Mark, and they went off to the Holy Land and went from Orthodox to ultra-Orthodox, which to me sounds like a repackaged detergent. Orthodox Ultra, now with more deep healing power. Because of that, we're supposed to call them Shoshana and Yerucham. Deb's been doing it. I'm just not saying their names. You want some water, I offer? Coke in the can? You, which of us, Mark says. You both, I say. I've got whiskey. Whiskey's kosher too, right? If it's not, I'll kosher it up real fast, he says, pretending to be easygoing. And right then he takes off that big black hat and plops down on the couch in the den. Lauren's holding the verticals aside and looking out at the yard. Two girls from Forest Hills, she says. Whoever thought we'd be the mothers of grown-ups? So, my belief, and I'm going to get yelled at for going off topic again, but I swear it comes in a circle. But I really believe in collections that, to me, as many novels as have changed my life, single stories have changed me, whether it's, Metamorphosis or Babel's The Story of My Dovecot or Grace Paley's Goodbye and Good Luck, stories that I read that I weep and they just change who I am, and I really think a collection should be as satisfying, if not more so, than it shouldn't just be a writer. I can feel it when I read a book and I feel someone was going through their drawers and was like, had a scale there and was like, that weighs what a book weighs. And then, so when I built this book, I wrote most of it in a year, which is, about 20 times faster than I usually write a book. And then you think, this one that's in, this new story that's in here doesn't really belong. I'm pulling it out. And then you think, that one belongs. So Peep Show was going to be in my first collection. But when I pulled it and wrote a new story for that collection, it wasn't ready yet. The story is about a guy who's married, he's intermarried and his wife is pregnant. He's going to have a baby that he won't consider to be Jewish, and he's just drawn into Times Square where all the peep shows are, which is not shocking in this country. But nonetheless, he goes in and the strippers, he's putting money in and the window goes up. The strippers turn into three naked rabbis from high school, and he has this whole fight with the naked rabbis. But when the story came out, so that story's 12 years old, but when that came out in the New Yorker, it was, there were letters, and I was in Jerusalem then, and when it hit the newsstand, the magazine comes out on Monday afternoon. It was midnight in Jerusalem. My editor called me at midnight in Jerusalem saying she was getting calls from midnight from the Knesset, from the parliament, from an angry Hasidic member of parliament who wanted to talk to me. He wanted my phone number and address. And my agent were like, do I need to go to a hotel tonight? We were all nervous. And we kept saying, put it in writing. That was my agreement. I'm not afraid. I will talk about anything, but somebody of that power, put it in, write me a note saying what you want to meet about, and I'm happy to meet you. He just called if he never put it in writing, but I filled it in myself.
I'm not just being kind when I say that I love the book.
Thank you.
Your last one. And I particularly related to it because, like you, I'm an American Jew.
I was going to think, that's a really good accent.
Yeah, I'm not putting it on.
Yeah.
I wasn't brought up Orthodox.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, maybe from your experience, and maybe other people can say, how people relate to your book if they're not Jewish. Because I found it very much seeped in Jewish culture, Jewish humor, the way of speaking, the way of expressing yourself,
right.
That whole, I could hear it in my head, I could hear the voice.
That makes me happy. I think thank you for that question. That's an awesome question. I will not rate the questions, sorry. But, 2 thumbs up. But you know what, I think about that a lot because I sometimes frustrate interviewers or, people, in the pub where I say, I don't even consider myself a Jewish writer. And that's confusing. And, well, that's it. All the characters are pretty much Jews. The themes are Jewish. The concerns are Jewish. The settings are Jewish. But the idea is, back to the growing up in the world that I grew up in, as I said, why I seem to mention it every day and in every talk, it must be cooking and will turn into some writing something. But this idea of being, a fifth-generation American, of having great-grandparents born there, though who knows where we came from, maybe Dutch. I know some Dutch Englanders. But this idea is, is that I love what you're saying because a book has to work for my only goal, that one, I always say with compliments, one has to be thankful. But if you read a positive review, if someone here tells me I'm handsome and I decide that's why I'm handsome, if the same person the next day tells me I'm ugly, I am obligated to feel ugly. So it's the only sort of interaction with the books that I can understand are when I just want the people who are of the story to believe it and say to me how, what I'm saying? For me, my Argentina novel, like what meant the most to me was meeting people, the names from the research that I did, meeting big people of that time who were victims of the dirty war, to say to me that they were willing to interact with my brain or say, you got it right. That's all I can do. So my point is, my obligation is, yes, to get it right for someone who's Jewish who gets that. But I think it's only in with Jewish fiction or African American fiction or gay fiction, we think about that idea more is, does this work for the outside? But the idea is almost every book we read is not us. I'm saying? I love Voltaire's Candide. I'm not French. I'm not dead for 400 years. I've never been disemboweled like Cunigal. That's one of my favorite Woody Allen lines from 400 years ago. I thought you were disemboweled. I got better. It's straight out of Monty Python. But so the idea is, to me, is a story's not functioning unless it's universal, and I refuse to see my stories as other because my people are. Jew is not other to me. It's how people are. That's the idea. You can look at me as an American. That's other to you. It's not other to me. That's the way that people are in my head. So. I respect the question. It's a oft-asked question. The idea is it better work for somebody who knows this stuff, but if it's not a universal, if it can't be translated. I'm going to Germany in a few days. There they have actors read for you, and I love that, back to, thanking my translator. You can even feel the rhythms, and that's the miracle to me, that a culture that's not Jewish anymore, that it can be read in another language, and I can feel the rhythms and think, if all goes well, everybody's going to laugh right now, and then you can, so yeah, I think a story has to be universal or it's not functioning. That's how I feel as a reader. And again, most of what we read is totally different from our experience.